Hey there, it's Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master, such as
Great Western Trail, New Zealand by Plan B Games and Eggert Spiel.
Now, as you can see, we've got the whole trilogy out here. We've got second edition. We've got Argentina and the newest New Zealand. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about all three of these games, but primarily we are going to be focusing in on New Zealand as it is the newest and latest in the trilogy series of Great Western Trail.
And to be transparent, we did purchase our own copies of Argentina and the original second edition that were already on our shelves. So this one is the one that they did provide, Plan B did provide us for a review, so we do want to be transparent and let you know that up front. So.
Now, with Great Western Trail, if you're not familiar with the series of games here, the theme is pretty similar across the trilogy. There are some variations about what kind of livestock that you are moving from point A to point B. But in two of the series of the games, in the second edition, first edition, and Argentina, you are moving cattle across the countryside, trying to get from train station to train station, trying to have the most diverse group of cattle once you get to the end of the line for the most points. Well, in money,
which is points at the end, but using as money.
Right. In New Zealand, it's a similar idea, except instead of it being cattle, you are dealing in sheep this time. And you do have different types of sheep, just like you did with the cattle. There are some that are more valuable, some that are harder to get, that will pay out better for you once you get to New Zealand. And it's the same idea. You're going to be traversing down this line, this path, taking different routes when there are forks, taking different actions when you get to different buildings, but ultimately getting to Wellington to sell off your hand of sheep. Now, there are some differences with New Zealand. We're going to talk a little bit about that along the way. But I think what maybe would be best for us to do, Jeremy, is to start off just in general terms talking about how we like Great Western Trail, the second edition, and just the idea of the game behind it and how it evolved to Argentina and how it gets to this point. So what are your feelings in regards to the original game, first edition, second edition?
I'll be honest with everybody. I thought Great Western Trail, the original, I never played my second edition. I had the original. And the second edition doesn't change much other than artwork and components. So I wasn't a huge fan of Great Western Trail. I thought it was a good game, but it wasn't one that I was like, oh, this is my favorite game, which a lot of people do have on their top 10. And I mean, I can understand why you might, but for me, it really didn't click in that way. Now, I will say, after playing that and this and Argentina, I really like Argentina the best. I feel like it adds a little bit more complexity. I like the way that the farmers are used and actually giving a purpose to the hazards more. You can actually see the difference in the colored background of that farmer, which makes it a lot easier to place on the board in the correct position. Yeah. It is still that rondelle, a similar rondelle of actions that you're going through this path. So it's a funky shaped rondelle, but you're moving around these different buildings to get back around to resolve the same actions over, placing buildings out on the board. I feel like you can get a really good strategy figured out, and that strategy will carry on over into the other games. So just getting those buildings out and upgrading a couple of them so you get a lot of points from that, but not neglecting other points like on your board and placing out your discs. So Great Western Trail, the original, like I said, wasn't a favorite of mine. I really do enjoy Argentina quite a bit more with the ports sending out, adding that extra layer of strategy, but also the money is, you can get more money from locations on the board and different things. So I liked what they did to change it. Still wouldn't say that Argentina is a favorite of mine, but I do like it quite a bit more than the original. Okay. And unlike a lot of people, as you'll find out later, I do still like this a little bit more than New Zealand also.
To give you an idea where I'm coming from, I really do like Great Western Trail, the original, first edition, second edition, doesn't matter to me. It's one that I also enjoy playing solo as well, as I feel like it has a pretty solid solo experience to go along with it. It's a different type of game. It's a Alexander Pfister game, and so that comes with it being a different breed of game, with lots of different mechanics at play. Like Jeremy said, the rondelles going on, but you're also wanting to expand. You're wanting to upgrade your board. So there's modular tableau building type of experience with your board. And those are all mechanics that I really enjoy. And so the original game, I like it quite a bit. Argentina comes along, and I agree with Jeremy. I feel like it ramps up the complexity quite a bit. I wouldn't say it's a huge overhaul by any means, but it is a bit more complex than the original game. And I like that, which generally speaking, as somebody who gravitates towards medium weight games, I generally don't like the more complex, but I do enjoy Argentina, and I think I would agree with Jeremy. I think it might be better than second edition. I keep pointing because we've got Argentina over here and second edition over here. So there you go. I would agree with Jeremy on that. Now, I'm going to hold back on my thoughts about what New Zealand brings to the table and where I feel like it fits in those. But just to give you an idea, that's where both of us are coming from as we get into talking about New Zealand.
And one more thing I will say is, with any and its most Pfister games, the cards and the randomization of those cards that come out onto the table. Luckily,
there's gonna be a luck.
Luckily, with this one, you're placing those cards at the beginning of a round, or as this game progression token exceeds a certain level. Once it does that, then you'll restock the board. So not necessarily that it's like Boon Lake or anything where you constantly can get all these different cards and you could never see a red card until the last round. I mean, I wonder who has played like that. And everybody else just gets all these great cards. Well, that's it seems like there's a lot of cards in Pfister's games. But this one, luckily, all the cards come out on the table.
Okay.
And they're available to everybody. Now, there could be one sheep in this game that's there, and it triggered to refill right before your turn, which that one person gets it. But that's pretty rare because you would have to be at a building to gain the sheep. So I feel like the cards are other than your deck building your own deck, which is a different thing. So I don't hold that. But as far as these cards being out and available for people, it's much easier to deal with in this game and not feel like you're getting screwed because of random card shuffle that somebody's getting all the good cards and you're just getting the junk that's left over.
Sure. So let's get into New Zealand. We're not going to be telling you guys how to play that. There's already a lot of videos out there that you can watch to get a good idea of how to play. But in this, we are going to stick more to our opinions, our thoughts, a solid review on New Zealand. And so let's just start with the things that stand out to us that make it feel unique and make it feel different from the other entries in the trilogy, the things that we enjoy about it. I'll start off by saying one of the things that I like the most about this game is this board over here. And that being that this is kind of a choose your own path a little bit. It's not a linear path like the trains are in the other two entries where you have to just keep going forward. I suppose you could choose whether you stop at a train station or if you keep moving to the next one, but that's really about all the branching divergent paths that you can take. In this one, you can really go, you got to make a choice right here. 2 steps onto the path. Are you going left or are you going right? And then you choose again and then again. And depending on what you choose can really affect what you end up doing over here on this board. And you may not even get to other places if you choose to go a certain way. So I enjoy that because the trains always kind of seem to me like, I guess I have to do this. I guess I got to do that. You took this train station, so I got to keep going to the next one. Like it just seemed like a foregone conclusion in some of the other games. Whereas this, it feels like there's definitely a little bit more strategy going on. And it's a little bit harder to predict what other people are going to be doing on their turns. Like I can see what you've got and know pretty good that you're going to stop at that next train station. And so I might as well not even bank on doing that and just plan on going up to the next one. Well, here, I don't know that.
And in Argentina, you can still go to the same place like this. This can take 4 different storehouses. And in Argentina, you can place a disc where another person has branched off on the fork. The only thing is you may not get to place the farmer or worker there so that they become a train station worker. Same with here. I mean, multiple people can go here. It's just only one person is going to be able to replace and make that person a dock assistant
and get
or
the tile, the bonus tile.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I could have take or leave this board. I moved on it. I placed discs and took actions, but it wasn't that important. It wasn't my favorite part of the game, and I was just only did it when I had to go to a building that had to move the I don't know his name, boatmaster.
Okay. All right.
The sailor, I don't know, shipman.
Captain, sea captain.
What was the word in this game that we kept messing up?
Oh, man. A lot of them. I don't know.
We're not from New Zealand. I mean, I talked to some people on Real Talk a few times and try to get some lingo, but I don't know all the lingo. So, for me, I actually like the bird track.
I was going to say the bird track.
The bird track was one thing I liked because I was moving up it, and it takes a lot of as far as the board locations, takes a lot of the same things that you might get in the other ones where you're trying to place buildings at certain locations, just like these grassy areas. It's kind of like that. So I actually liked moving up the bird track and having you can get these cards that allow you to move up, and buildings can let you move up as well, not only placing buildings. So having that extra track was actually kind of nice, I thought. And I just wanted to keep, collecting birds, I guess.
Yeah.
And I made it to the top. And you get different choices, like gaining gold or points. So obviously you want to move up so you can max out 15 points. In addition to, maybe not paying for hazards or moving quicker. So that was a nice little change that I liked added to it.
Another one for me is the fact that you've got your workers set up differently on this board here. In the other two entries, getting workers, or at least getting the workers that you need, wasn't an easy task to be done, and there wasn't always the guarantee that you would get the workers that you need to come out. It does feel like that is less of a factor with New Zealand, that it is much easier to get the workers that you need and be able to advance on these on your board, to be able to just do certain actions that you might not ever do in an entire game of Great Western Trail or Argentina, just simply for the fact there was never the opportunity to get enough builders to build the biggest buildings and that sort of thing.
I felt like in Argentina, the workers were always very expensive.
Yes.
Which is good in a way, let me say. And that's because a lot of those workers had strength. And that's one thing that's not in this. Instead of having that strength, a different change is you can shear those sheep to gain money on the way and get them out of your hands, so you might be able to get some more. Whereas in Argentina, you are gaining people, adding strength to your board essentially, so that you can convince these farmers to come work for, Yellowstone, Argentina, and that's the best ranch. So you want to do that, but they were always expensive because if they have strength, you pay one additional coin. There was never, I don't even think there's a 5 on the original board, and then that building location that you're trying to gain extra people, well, you're paying 2 more to hire that second person. You've seen me unload like 22 coins.
You're broke after that turn, almost every time.
It paid off. You got to have people running the station, otherwise your range is going down. So that is a change, and you can, if it fills up, you could possibly, if nobody's wanting those workers, get some really cheap workers. I don't know as far as if you see more or less of them, though, because you're still doing 2 of each.
Sure.
The only difference is if you have a hazard that you're putting out there. So that's kind of, it's all depending on what you see, and then those C's are going to come down here on the bottom board.
Right.
It's still probably the same length, but the difference is this tracker is not moving as much, because it's separated from the workers.
Yes.
So that dictates the speed of the game.
Yeah. And I think that probably plays a factor into why I feel like you have more opportunities.
Seems shorter, but I don't really, I mean, it might be a hair shorter, but it wasn't like super short.
Anything else to you that stands out in a good way about New Zealand?
A good or just different way?
Good.
I feel like
or
we're playing last man standing. And we're saying what's the differences. It's my turn again. I
Yeah.
did the shearing, but there is the gold track that you have on your board.
Yep.
And it's similar to the grain on the Argentina one, but instead of using that grain to put your port discs out and get on these certain ships, you're using that gold as kind of a bonus, because once you get to a certain level, you can spend that gold to gain a card, and the cards will be different things. They might add, a bird card to your hand, or different things that go with that card. Yes, they'll probably be points, more than likely, but there's some different options with the cards that you can choose from for each one of these, and it can kind of help you out when you're doing that in-game scoring, but you also may get a bonus from it. The other one is you do have those storehouses. So instead of placing just discs at places where you go, you're placing these storehouses, and when you connect 2 of them, you're going to gain that bonus. So it might be 1 additional wool for the rest of the game whenever you're doing a shearing action. It could be, just get immediate points. Or gaining those sheep certificates when you're doing your deliveries. So having that and having an ability when you're placing those out, not only are you spreading out on this port board over here to gain, in-game points at the end, but you also can gain bonuses by placing the right ones off your board and utilizing that the right way. So those are probably about it. Only other one is the same in Argentina. You have a 4th worker row, unlike Great Western Trail 2nd Edition, which gives you the shearer to use your cards in a different way. And I feel like that's a really good thing for this game and in the series, is having those cards be able to be used in another way,
dual use,
instead of just delivery, but you have to get enough of the workers to really capitalize that. And it gives you more options on which workers do you want to maximize on based on what's available. Because if I see someone else is going to go heavy on the port, boatman track, ferryman, then I'm going to probably want to get more builders, or maybe I want to shear a bunch, because it's all money until you get to the very end anyways.
Well, there you have it. That's some of the differences and some of the things that we like with New Zealand, what it brings to the trilogy, how it's different, what makes it stand out. Let's talk a little bit about what maybe doesn't work so great for us, and what maybe, makes us question why this game, is in the trilogy. Why does it need to be a trilogy? Why not just a first one and a sequel? So for me, the first thing that I'll say is that this game absolutely feels like it's in an opposite direction from what Argentina went. We talked about how Argentina was a more complex, a more challenging kind of game, whereas it feels like New Zealand took it a step in the opposite direction to make it be more forgiving and an easier, more, I want to say, low complexity, because it's still a heavy game.
I feel like it's still complex because there's more things and more places, like with this board and stuff. So I feel like there's more rules, and it's not necessarily less complex than Great Western Trail or Argentina. I feel like it's, like you said, just more forgiving.
Yeah.
And that more forgiving feel makes it feel a little bit lighter, even though it's not super light. But you can do way more of what you want to do because of that sheer action. You will have that money, different things. Now, we keep saying money. You do get quite a bit more money in Argentina than you do Great Western Trail by going to those farmers and stopping there. And with the port board gaining more money by sending those ships out. Most of the
you get a lot of money in this
spots,
one too, though.
That's what I'm saying. This one still gets quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
This one, you can just use your money a lot easier. Like I said, you got these cheaper spaces, whereas in Argentina, you don't. It feels like, even the tracks over there, they're much less. I just feel like, yes, there's this bird track. That's another rule. There's, these are split up, so the rules are... So complexity, I feel like it's still a complex game.
Sure.
I feel like it's just easier, though.
Yeah.
It's easier, a little bit lighter, and much more forgiving than the other two.
To me, kind of begs the question a little bit of why does this game exist? Because Great Western Trail itself is a fairly complex game, but it's not on the same level as Argentina. At least I don't feel like. And so you've got one that's maybe here, and you've got one that's here with Argentina. And I feel like New Zealand is like somewhere just like slightly above maybe Great Western Trail in terms of rule set, but in terms of forgiveness and what you're able to do, and you make a mistake and you're not crushed like you are in Argentina. With this one, it just sort of feels like like I said, they took a step in the opposite direction, which I know probably some people are hearing me say that, and they might be saying, well, I like that. Argentina was too strict. But man, if I am gonna play a heavy, Euro, a heavy rule set game, I don't know if I want it to be so forgiving. I know I've heard you say that a lot of times.
I feel like with this one, it's like they took the game and they had these module ideas and they combined them into this. And like I've told you, it's fine that they made it, and some people will want this version, whether it's the sheep idea and theme, or maybe they have a tie to New Zealand, but a lot of games do that. I mean, Pandemics. We talk about Pandemics, and they have so many, and it's a core game, and they do a few tweaks. And nowadays, we're in that era where a lot of things get.
I feel like this is the year of sequels.
A couple extra options.
Yeah.
It feels like the movies nowadays.
Yeah,
kind of
it really does.
Where you see the same movies being produced over and over, and they have little tweaks here and there, and that's fine. Because then you have another set of games that are just totally different. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. That's no different than when we talk about Garfield Games revisiting Raiders of the North Sea with Raiders of Scythia. And I think that's what they did. Is I think he had his original. They made some tweaks because of some historical context that they wanted to address for the community. And when he was doing that, I bet he was just like, hey, I could do this. And I've been thinking about this because the game was, old by then, or older. So then how can I incorporate this? And I think that's what they did. Personally, to answer your question, I don't think you need all three unless you're a collector and this is your jam and you just want all three. I think you would play them and pick the one. I don't want all three. I want the one that I showed you, and I'm fine with it because it's the one that's a little bit more complex, but it doesn't, I don't want to use this word because it's not that Great Western Trail is boring, but it feels like there's more to it, and I enjoy that. You don't need all three.
The choices mean a little bit more, I feel like, in Argentina because there's more opportunity to wreck yourself. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be careful. Whereas in this game, it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like, man, if I choose the wrong thing here, I'm going to pay for it 2-3 turns down the road.
Well, I mean, you didn't feel that until the game was over.
Well, that's... but when it hit me like a ton of rocks.
When the games were over, you're like, wow, I thought I had
too many exhaustion cards in my hand.
You were doing better, and I was like,
yeah,
that's...
That may sound harsh. I may be coming down a little bit too hard on this because it is still a very fun game. It's still a game that I feel like a lot of people are going to enjoy, and it may just be a preference thing for myself and for Jeremy.
I think it is. I've heard a lot of people say this is their favorite. I've heard a lot of people say after playing this in Argentina, they probably wouldn't play the original, and sorry, but I hear a lot of the Rails to the North doesn't get touched after these come out. But it is a preference thing. If you like a game that's going to be more involved and have even more of a strategy chain to go into and try to figure out how you're going to get that money and how you're going to do this, I feel like you gravitate towards Argentina. I know some other people have said the same thing like I do. But a lot of people, probably the majority, are saying that this is their favorite. Yeah. And I think it's because it's more inviting to people that don't like it. It is. I'm a restrictive gamer. I love to have a restrictiveness in the game and restrictive worker placement or restrictive actions in games and how I have to make those good choices if I want to thrive in that game. It's very important to me. And a lot of times when it's too forgiving or too easy, people can make mistakes and still
Still come out ahead.
win, and it's like, well, why did I play my best?
Yeah.
And with this one, like I said, when we play, I think I'm way behind. The next thing you know, it's not the case. It's not poor scorekeeping, but it's just
there's more opportunities.
This board
to
makes you.
yourself.
I think this board makes you think that someone's, because you go heavier into this.
I go heavy into that.
And I feel like this is the board that makes you think you're way behind because you can see the points on the board.
Yeah.
But when you go,
and you can see the storehouses,
and you look at, and you think about your cards and some of the other places, and you really get into it with your buildings and things that don't necessarily have this point symbol just in your face with all these discs on it. Once you start calculating, it can be a different story.
So I think to kind of wrap this video up, because we don't want to keep it too long, what I would say to you guys, and I think Jeremy and I are on the same page, you can't go wrong with any of the three in the series, right? If you've not played a single one, your best bet is probably to go with the original or maybe to go with New Zealand.
Your best bet's to watch other video, like a gameplay video or a rules video and see. But if you don't like the heaviest side, I would probably say you're going to go with this one versus the original, just because there's more to do on it. It's more interesting because of those extra actions with the track, this board, and the cards being able to be sheared with an extra worker. I feel like that's going to be more interesting to you. If you want something that's heavier and much more involved, you definitely want to check out Argentina, because it's going to give you even more to think about, calculate, and go through with without having that shear to gain those money. You're instead using the strength to get farmers, which is not giving you money. So I guess that's still tighter than this one. Yeah. But you can still get more money in this one than that one. And the newer ones are both a little bit more interesting, but they are fresher and they're building off of an IP that's already there. You just said a word that I was going to throw out there, and that was to answer the question, which I bet a lot of you are probably asking. Well, if I don't own any of them, but I have played Great Western Trail, should I get the original? Should I get this? And I would probably tell you, go ahead and get this, get New Zealand, because it is fresher, because it does offer some unique things, novel things, more choices, let's say. And I do really like this board over here that you just don't have in the original game. Now, the original game is a classic, and it's going to be a great game if you like heavier games. But like I said, if you don't own either one of them and you're already familiar with the way the game works and you've seen it played or you've played it yourself and you want to buy one of these games, I would maybe start off with this, unless you already know that you really enjoy Argentina. And then I would maybe tell you, stick with Argentina. Or you can just order $50 worth of Argentinian coins and wait for your game to come in, and hopefully you like it like I do. And luckily they fit perfectly on the spot, and he spends more money on his accessories and upgrades than he does on the actual games. But oh my gosh, that's true. But there you go, guys. That's our thoughts and feelings on New Zealand, as well as the Trilogy, Great Western Trail Trilogy as a whole. Let's go ahead and get these boxes back out here again. We do want to thank Eggertspiel and Plan B for sending us New Zealand to check out. And as you can tell, we do like these games because we own all three of them amongst the two of us. And so there you have it. Leave us some comments. But for how long? We always have to clear out space. I mean, that's just the truth of the nature of the beast. I got over $100 in Great Western Trail Argentina, so that's not happening. There you go. Never get my money back. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about New Zealand, what you think about the entire trilogy, if we're right, if we're wrong, just whatever you think on this particular one. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our great new content. I'm Lance. I'm Jeremy. And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. We'll see you next time. And overblinged. See ya.